Good morning, first of all, and welcome again to the Multifamily Energy Savings Housing Authority webinar. My name is Leslie Martinez, and I will be moderating for you all today. Before we get started, I'd like to go over some housekeeping items, introduce our presenters, and the agenda for today. So let's go ahead and start that. Okay, some Zoom webinar logistics for you all. Please send all of your questions through the Q&A at the bottom of your screen. You can send questions throughout the presentation, and we will be answering them at the end of the presentation. And this is especially important to note because the attendee chat will be disabled. Attendee audio will not be enabled as well, but you will get a chance to ask questions at the end of the presentation. For everyone's awareness, we will share a copy of the presentation with all the registrants as well as the recording of the presentation. Our presenters today are Marissa Van Sant and Lydia Fletcher. Marissa is the Multifamily Energy Savings Program Manager, and Lydia is our Outreach and Enrollment Manager. As for our agenda today we will cover the program overview, which will cover the property and income eligibility, the services and the participation process. Then we will go into project scope development, which will cover the program services, eligible upgrades, upgrade examples, contractors as well. And then we will jump over to how to participate, which will include how to apply, the qualifications needed, the documents needed, and enrollment. Lastly, we will go over the single point of contact service, including incentive layering, and we will end our webinar session with a Q&A. Before we dive into all of that, we'd like to know who we have in our audience today. So I am going to launch our poll, and if you can take a moment to answer that. Awesome. So it looks like the majority of us, it's pretty good split. A lot of us are consultants, and a lot of us are public housing authorities. So yeah, it looks like we are all in the right place for this webinar. So I will go ahead and kick it off to Marissa to take us through the program overview.
Hi, everyone. Thank you for the overview and introduction, Leslie. It's great to be here today and to present how the Multifamily Energy Savings Program can be a resource for property owners, including housing authorities for qualifying property upgrades. We've invited housing authorities and related stakeholders to this webinar to help raise awareness of the services offered by this program to specifically affordable housing property owners that will help with designing and funding energy efficiency upgrades. For today's discussion, we're going to focus on developing projects at the property level, but it is worth mentioning that the program will also have a pathway for qualifying multifamily residents that can apply and receive services directly. So during today's presentation, we'll cover the services that residents are eligible for, but are happy to answer additional questions about the resident pathway and more during our Q&A session at the end. So let's go ahead and kick things off with our program overview. Multifamily Energy Savings is a statewide program that offers comprehensive and cost-effective energy efficiency upgrades to qualifying affordable multifamily property owners and residents. Some services are provided at no cost to residents and owners, and other services help to reduce out-of-pocket costs for property upgrades, but also come with free project assistance to again help design and fund your project. Some of you here today may recognize the program name Energy Savings Assistance, or ESA. Multifamily Energy Savings is an ESA program that launched in July of 2023 and now allows property owners and residents to benefit from common area and in-unit upgrades provided under the same program. Multifamily Energy Savings replaces previous ESA Common Area and ESA Multifamily In-Unit programs and continues to be administered by the California Investor-Owned Utilities, or IOUs, that we'll highlight in just a moment. The program will be implemented through December 2026, but if you have a project in mind, today you'll learn how to submit an application if you're ready to get started. Next slide, please. So to begin with the property characteristics that are eligible for the program, this program is for existing properties only, and equipment must be at least 5 years or older to qualify for retrofit or replacement. A property must receive electric or natural gas utility service from any of the following IOUs who administer this program. So that's PG&E, SDG&E, Southern California Edison, and Southern California Gas. Customers who receive service from a local community choice aggregator, or CCA, are also eligible as long as they can provide an electric bill that shows they receive service through one of the administering IOUs. And program staff are absolutely here to help owners with identifying this on their energy bills during the eligibility screening process. Next, qualifying properties must have 5 or more units, with each unit sharing at least a wall, floor, or ceiling with another. If this doesn't fit your property type, don't worry. Today, we'll also cover how the program can assist owners with referral to other programs that might be a better fit. Finally, other qualifying requirements for property level enrollment is that owners must allow the program to offer in-unit upgrades and educational resources to all residents who qualify for them. We'll cover this in more detail later, but it's an important piece to highlight so that owners are aware about this requirement when they're starting the program process. Next slide, please. So the program is an income eligibility based program. And so what that means is that once we determine basic property characteristics, we will conduct income eligibility screening to confirm property level eligibility, which qualifies all common areas and residential units for upgrade. Income eligibility levels do vary based on property type, that being deed restricted properties and non-deed restricted properties. So for deed restricted properties, specifically under this program, they are defined as multifamily residential complexes that are financed with low-income housing tax credits, tax-exempt mortgage revenue, general obligation bonds, and/or local, state, or federal loan or grant programs. Each project or property applicant is required to submit valid forms of agreements that provide proof that the property will maintain its affordability status for at least 10 years. Examples of agreements the program has accepted are TCAC, LIHTC, USDA, Cal, HCD, HUD, HAP agreements, and others. Each are screened individually for their eligibility. So we may identify some of these agreements that may not be eligible depending on the timing or other criteria, but these are at least examples of agreements that we've accepted in the program. It's important to note that if one of these agreements does not qualify as a deed restriction for the property, that is why we have the non-deed track available to help. But before we get there, the deed restricted properties must qualify under at least 65% of household income levels that meet the 250% of the federal poverty guidelines. So we will evaluate each property's income levels, requesting income rolls from owners themselves. And Lydia is going to go into more detail about that process today. But that's how we evaluate the 65% of households meeting this income criteria. If the properties are eligible, that means that all of the residential units are qualified to receive 100% cost covered in-unit services that are delivered directly by the program. So even in the case that only 65% of households meet the property level income standard, that will effectively qualify all residential units for the fully covered in-unit services. And then as far as common area incentives, deed restricted properties will be eligible to receive up to 100% of eligible project costs for common area upgrades. For our non-deed restricted properties, oh, apologies, thank you. For our non-deed restricted properties that cannot provide or do not have a valid form of deed restriction, they can qualify in a similar way through income qualification screening. But the difference between deed restriction is that 80% of households must meet the program's income qualifying standards. So higher threshold for non-deed restricted properties. These properties are also still eligible to offer 100% funded in-unit measures to all of their residents. But for common area, there is a requirement that property owners provide a 50% copay for the project costs. So our project team will assist non-deed restricted property owners with understanding what their income levels are during the scope development process, and we'll cover part of that as well later today. All right, on the next slide, we can see the federal poverty guidelines that the program uses as a means to qualify properties' income levels. So these are set standardly by the Energy Savings Assistance Program and adopted for use under Multifamily Energy Savings. They are updated annually. So these income levels that you're seeing here and that are being used to currently qualify properties are valid through May of this year. And then the agency that produces these will provide an update coming up in late April to early May, and then the program will use the updated guidelines for income qualification. It is also important to note that this program uses federal poverty guidelines, which do not directly align with area median income or AMI, like other programs may use. So roughly, the correlation that everyone can make is that it aligns with roughly 30 to 60% of the AMI for urban counties in California and about 30 to 80% AMI for rural counties. Last thing to note on the income guidelines is that even if a property does not qualify under the current income guidelines for property level enrollment, we may want to have you come back and re-qualify when the income guidelines have been updated. So in the event that you're right on the threshold with the current income guidelines, we will keep you in the pipeline and revisit once the income guidelines have updated, or maybe your occupancy levels have changed, so that could change the overall eligibility calculation. All right, next slide, please. So now diving into the program process. So we're going to walk through from start to finish what the steps an owner can expect when bringing a property through the Multifamily Energy Savings Program. So we start each customer's journey with free technical assistance, which is provided to customers to qualify a property and to identify the scope of work. So beginning with property and income qualification, as well as deed restriction status evaluation, that is what starts understanding whether or not this property is eligible for the program. And again, Lydia is going to cover this in more detail. As a project is going through this process, and if it is eligible for enrollment, the next step will be to evaluate the property for common area opportunities. So part of the property assessment will include an on-site visit from an auditor to evaluate common area spaces for eligible upgrade. As part of the property assessment, we also perform benchmarking that'll evaluate the property's energy load to also understand, are there particular upgrades that can help either reduce the property's electrical or gas loads? And in this process, we also help educate owners on understanding how to continue to monitor the building's energy usage after upgrades are performed. So we take the information from an on-site assessment as well as benchmarking to then inform a project scope of work. In that process, we will present eligible measures that we recommend that will help reduce the property's energy load or increase efficiency and inform the owner and their project team of their options. Excitingly, as of March 1st, during this process, when we present the scope of work to property owners and their teams, it now no longer requires contractors to have to submit bids in order to define the incentive levels that will be reserved for the project. We are now able to identify the incentive levels at the time the scope of work is presented to the property owner and the project team. So reducing the timeline in order to get a project approved and construction underway. So we're really excited to now have this update to the program in flight. So now if you are currently an owner with projects in the pipeline and you're in this process, we're excited for this to hopefully speed up you reaching project approval. If owners, once they reach the project approval stage and are ready to move forward, they will receive a project approval letter that defines also their construction schedule and will be able to then move into the installation phase of the project. During the installation phase is when both property level and in-unit energy efficiency upgrades are being delivered directly to the property itself. So in the situation where common area upgrades are scoped, the owner will begin construction with their selected contractor, and that project will be underway. Similarly, the in-unit services will also kick off, and that is something that is directly provided by the program through our qualified ESA contractor network. This is when the properties will be evaluated for in-unit upgrade potential, and then upgrade eligibility will be presented to an owner for decision making, and then in-unit services will be offered to every residential unit. Once both of those installation phases complete, we move into project verification. On the in-unit side, there is no out-of-pocket cost from the owner or resident, so there's no payment associated with those upgrades, but the work will be validated by the appropriate utility that serves that property. So there will be evaluation of that work and potentially an on-site inspection by the utility to confirm installation quality. Similarly, for common area project evaluation, projects will be required to submit invoices and other documentation that validates the installation. That will be reviewed for compliance prior to payment processing. And in that process, there may also be on-site inspections conducted either by the program team or the appropriate utility. Once those common area installations are confirmed to meet all program standards, payment will be issued either to the property owner or to a designated contractor if the owner chooses. So that's a summary of the overall start to finish in the Multifamily Energy Savings Program. Next slide, please. So once we get into the phase where we're developing the project scope of work, we're now going to drill into how that is actually conducted. So next slide. Starting with the eligible upgrades. So after the on-site evaluation and benchmarking, this is when the assigned energy advisor to a common area project will help the owner and the project team understand what upgrades are eligible for their particular property. The measure categories where eligible measures can come from are what you can see here on the screen. So we have building envelope and weatherization, domestic water heating, space heating and cooling, lighting, appliances and plug loads, and also electrification. We are not an electrification program per se, but we do offer a series of measures that can help properties make the fuel switch journey possible. So currently we have heat pump water heaters, mini split heat pumps, heat pump pool heaters for common area upgrades. And we are also looking into in-unit electrification upgrades coming later this year. And so when that happens, the program will announce the rollout. But for all currently offered measures, anyone can visit this link here, esamultifamily.com/eligibility to view our full list of eligible upgrades. Next slide, please. So we've mentioned the term property upgrade and common area upgrade, and confirming that they're meaning the same thing. So when we talk about common areas, we're referring to these spaces here that you can see on the screen. So spaces such as hallways, leasing office, lobbies, stairwells, elevators, etc. These are all where we can identify areas for our measure categories potentially to help reduce energy loads and help systems to operate more efficiently, or improve any maintenance needs that are continuing to happen at the property. So the process to identify these upgrades is first to start asking owners, what is happening on site? Are there recurring maintenance issues, as I mentioned, or is there something that they've been wanting to upgrade for some time and have not just been able to find the funding to be able to do it? So we take all that information into account during the property assessment phase, and we'll advise owners on any of the upgrades that we find to be eligible for the program that are fitting their needs. If there are funding gaps or owners are interested in additional upgrades that are not offered by the program, again, Lydia is going to talk about how program staff can assist with what is called program layering, which can bring additional benefits and other program resources to project scopes of work. Next slide, please. Property level or common area upgrades are performed by contractors that are selected by owners. So you all have the opportunity to identify contractors or work with ones that you are already under contract with or provide regular services to your properties or portfolio. So as long as the contractor is licensed with the California State Licensing Board and has the appropriate license to perform the upgrades that they're being hired to do, they will be qualified to perform common area upgrades on behalf of the program. For owners that are wanting to be a part of the project development process, you would use the property assessment report that is provided by the program to help inform the contractor on the scope of work. Or if property owners want to have their contractors help lead the program development process, they will work directly with our team and use this property assessment report to inform the scope that they will help design. Installations have to adhere to both the policies and procedures in our program handbook, as well as the Energy Savings Assistance Installation Standards Manual requirements, all that will be provided to program teams as we're working through scope development. And then lastly, if owners are they don't have an identified contractor to work with, we're able to provide you with a list of contractors that have completed installations on behalf of ESA programs. So we at least can point you towards contractors that have experience with performing work on behalf of this program. Next slide. So now touching on the in-unit upgrades or the resident services that are offered as part of this program. They are first 100% provided at no cost, again, to residents or owners. They are intended to improve, the energy efficiency and reduce energy costs specifically for residents. Additional benefits is they improve, the quality of life for residents by making energy efficiency accessible to people at all income levels. Equipment and services will have a 1-year warranty, and new equipment can also help to reduce in-unit maintenance costs that maybe are being experienced on a routine basis at certain properties. Lastly, part of the in-unit services is also to provide free education for residents that can further help improve energy performance for property owners who are particularly interested in that service. Since we recognize that coordinating resident unit access can also be a task for the property team, the program can offer project coordination services. So this includes assisting with coordination activities with property staff, whether that's between the asset level or the housing authority level and on-site property management. We're here to help make this process of offering services to your residents as smooth as possible. So we can also offer support to owners who want select in-unit measures. So that is where the upfront assessment of units and identification of measures can be presented to you prior to services being offered directly to residents to allow you to be part of the scope decision-making process. So the program is happy to discuss any other specific requests from owners on how to deliver these services more successfully to your owners. So please don't hesitate to reach out during the enrollment process. Next slide. So these services are provided directly by a network of qualified installation contractors that the program oversees. So these cannot be provided by outside contractors, only delivered by the program's qualified contractors. These individuals have been performing this work on behalf of ESA for many years, and they are part of an established utility qualification network that also upholds certain standards for their work performance and ongoing monitoring to ensure that they're delivering work according to the highest safety and installation standards. So they must comply with all program safety standards. They must register with the utility safety network and maintain a grade of A or B rating. They have to continue and maintain ongoing training and program requirements that allow them to deliver these services. And in some cases, they must also have additional certification, such as a home improvement sales certification, if they're working as an enrollment specialist. Next slide. All right, and rounding out my part of today's presentation is leaving you all with just a few examples of some real projects that have gone through previous iterations of both the ESA Common Area and ESA In-Unit multifamily programs. So demonstrating that these type of property level and large scale upgrades can really help bring cost savings to property owners, as well as energy savings, which is an important priority for this program, as well as many of you operating your buildings. So here we have just 4 different projects that are also featured on the program website, but just showing it real examples of how upgrades can save, tens of thousands of dollars potentially on annual energy bills. The program can help fund large program upgrade scopes of work, and is here to really help bring these opportunities to affordable housing owners. So we look forward to seeing your projects come through the program and answering any questions during our Q&A session. Now I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to Lydia.
Hi, everyone. Thank you for the handoff, Marissa. It's great to be here with you all today. I'm excited to be working together. Again, my name is Lydia Fletcher, and I'm the Outreach and Enrollment Manager for the ESA Multifamily Energy Savings Program. Now that we've had a chance to discuss the program overview, I'm here to discuss how you can participate and what the next steps are. We briefly covered program eligibility and requirements, but I'll dive into more details throughout the following slides. Next slide, please. Thank you. There are a couple of options for you to apply to the program, and the best option for you will depend on how many properties you're looking to submit. If you have 1 to 2 properties, you can submit an interest form online. You'll indicate your utility providers and be asked a couple of questions. After submitting a form, you should expect to hear back in 2 to 5 business days from a team member. If you have a large portfolio of projects, it will be most efficient for you to request a bulk submission form. We will send one and you can input property information and send it back to us. All that being said, if you're working with someone already or want more assistance or aren't sure what's best for you, you can connect with the team member who will walk you through your options. Also, if you already have a portfolio document maintained or available, you can submit that to the team and we will work to gather any other information needed. Here you can see how to access the interest form on our website. From the homepage, you can click on Apply Now, which is that little, that big blue button in the upper right-hand corner. One call out is that the first question asks what your heating utility is. If you're unsure, you can just put your best guess, but the rest of the interest form should be straightforward regarding property information. Here you can see a screenshot of the property level enrollment form. You can input multiple properties and submit all information to the team at once. If you're not sure about certain fields, just answer to the best of your knowledge, as someone from the team will be working with you throughout the enrollment process. As discussed earlier during this webinar, property level enrollment qualifies the whole building for services. This includes the common area and all dwelling units. To qualify for the property level enrollment, we will need income information provided, and I'll discuss that requirement a little later. Deed restricted properties, those with a regulatory agreement associated with maintaining affordable units, need to have 65% of residents at or below 250% of the federal poverty guidelines. Non-deed restricted properties need to have 80% of residents at or below 250% of the federal poverty guidelines. As Marissa mentioned earlier, the income requirements are the same, at 250% of the federal poverty guidelines, but the percentage of residents is the differentiator between deed and non-deed restricted properties. After being deemed eligible at the property level, work can be done at the common area and resident units. For common area work, non-deed restricted properties can receive up to 50% of costs covered, and deed restricted properties can receive up to 100% costs covered. After being deemed eligible at the property level, 100% of units are eligible for free upgrades, even if some residents didn't meet the income criteria. This includes deed restricted and non-deed restricted properties. Next slide, thank you. At its core, the ESA programs are designed to serve residents. Therefore, there are certain protections in place to ensure renovated properties remain affordable for residents. There are two situations property owner would need to sign a tenant protection agreement. One is if the property is non-deed restricted, and the second one is if the deed restricted property has fewer than 10 years left on the regulatory agreement that governs the affordability. The tenant protection agreement states that the property owner needs to maintain that at least 50% of the property's residents are at or below the CARE income guidelines for 10 years post-receival of incentives. Please note that the CARE guidelines are different than the program guidelines, and these can be found on the CPUC's website and are linked within our program handbook. Property owners do not need to sign the tenant protection agreement at the time of enrollment. However, program staff will confirm if there are any concerns about signing this agreement prior to completing enrollment. They can also discuss any questions you have about the agreement as well. If a property owner does not wish to sign a tenant protection agreement, property level enrollment will not be completed, but in-unit upgrades will be offered to all qualified residents. Next slide, thank you. All right, so you submitted your interest form. Now what's going to happen? Shortly after submitting an interest form, someone from the enrollment team will reach out to schedule a call to provide a program overview, answer any questions you may have, discuss your property or properties in more detail, and cover next steps. Here we have listed the documents that we will need you to provide to determine eligibility. The first one is basic property details. So at minimum, we need address, unit, and building count, though more details are always better. This also likely would have been provided via the interest form or the bulk submission form. The second are electric and gas bills from utility. Participants must be customers of SDG&E, SCE, SoCalGas, or PG&E, and provide a utility bill with a valid account number, property address, and public purpose program charge. Properties that receive services from CCAs are eligible with proof of bill showing valid distribution from one of the utilities listed above. As Marissa mentioned earlier, our team is here to help identify if there are any questions regarding any of those requirements I just listed. The bills need to be from within the last 6 months. And for energy benchmarking purposes, we ask for all bills, even if the provider is not one of the utilities listed above. Household income data. So this is a report of annual household incomes and number of occupants for each occupied unit. This can be the same information used for annual compliance certification if the property is deed restricted. Non-deed restricted properties must provide all available resident income data that is less than 12 months old. At minimum, the team needs the household size and the household income to complete our income calculation, and data needs to be provided from within the last year. We do recognize that this is sensitive information and it can be anonymized. We don't need the tenant name or any other sensitive information. Fourth is the property regulatory agreement, if applicable. So this is defined as a valid deed restriction document from a local state or federal government agency that legally requires a property to maintain long-term affordability for residents that meet specified low-income criteria. After all these documents are provided, our team will determine if your property meets the eligibility criteria. Next slide. Thank you. After we confirm eligibility, the team will send the application package, which includes these documents. This may look like a lot, but our team is here to help you work through these. Running through these documents, the first is property application. Here's where the property owner signs and agrees to comply with all program requirements. It's also where owner point of contact, general property information, utility service account ID, and if applicable, contractor company name, license number, and contact information are all recorded. Next is the property owner affidavit. Property owner selects the type of service desired. The two options are going to be in unit or whole building, which is common area plus in unit. Just common area services is not an option. This document also acts as a property owner waiver to allow site access to the properties listed for the ESA program. Next is the tenant protection agreement, which I covered earlier. And an important note is that this doesn't apply to all properties, just those mentioned in that previous slide. Finally, the benchmarking form is completed by the owner providing property and energy meter information to conduct property level benchmarking using Energy Star Portfolio Manager. This is not required at time of enrollment, but we recommend completing it at this stage. Next slide. And here, this is just a summary of everything I discussed in the previous two slides. So we have all the document requirements listed out in one table for reference. Next, I'll be discussing single point of contact services and program layering. Each of the investor-owned utilities, PG&E, SDG&E, SCE, and SoCalGas, have a single point of contact or SPOC service supporting their multifamily customers. These SPOC services are built from the understanding that multifamily properties don't neatly fit in the categories of residential, commercial, or industrial. They have unique needs and opportunities for improvement. They help customers explore all potential opportunities to maximize your incentives during your upgrades and continue your energy and cost savings after project completion. When multifamily customers contact their local utility single point of contact, the SPOC team works to identify their project needs, discuss additional opportunities of interest, and recommend programs that are the best fit for the customer's circumstances. On this slide, you can see the variety of opportunities SPOC connects customers with: energy efficiency upgrades, solar PV installation, project financing, EV charging, demand response programs, and water and air quality management district resources. Next slide, please. Thank you. The SPOC services from PG&E, SDG&E, SCE, and SoCalGas all coordinate together to stay up to date on the new developments in the different utility territories and to hand off projects or portfolios that span multiple utility territories. SPOC have been working especially closely with ESA Multifamily Energy Savings Program to ensure a streamlined customer experience across the state. SPOC can also support your contractors, equipment manufacturers, and distributors, as well as residents, with resources that are available beyond the property owner level. Here we've included the contact information for all the SPOC services. Right, and next, how to connect with us. So really recommend checking out our program website. It's a wealth of information about everything we covered, even more to review. And then based off your utility information, please reach out to either contact with any questions, comments, or to get started. On behalf of Marissa, myself, and the program team, thanks for tuning in today. We appreciate your time and look forward to working together. And now we have some time to answer your questions.
Thank you, Lydia and Marissa. So we will go ahead and get started with Q&A. As a reminder, the Q&A button is right at the bottom of your screen, and you can go ahead and type in your question. You can also feel free to raise your hand if you want to ask it live. We already have a couple of questions in the queue. The first one is, how does the common area incentives and contractor bidding work? Would it be correct to say that the energy audit will define the max incentives available for each scope item, and the owner is responsible for getting bids from their contractor? And if the cost is higher than the incentive, the owner pays the difference or finds a leveraging funding source. And either Lydia or Marissa can answer that.
Thanks, Leslie. As Marissa, I'll take it. That's a really great question. So the incentive levels that are now being presented to projects after the on-site assessment are the max incentives. We are absolutely able to receive additional information that can help with consideration of the incentive levels, but that is based on the incentive levels that are set by the program. If in the case there is a particular measure that we do need additional information for, we will request and accept a contractor's bid for that further evaluation. Or if there's other ancillary costs for a particular installation, such as in the case of a large HVAC or boiler replacement that requires use of a crane to get it on top of a roof. That would be what we would consider ancillary service, and we would maybe ask for additional information to help right size that incentive amount to accommodate that cost. So there is both an opportunity here for us to expedite the scope of work development process by providing max incentive levels at the time of property assessment report delivery. But we can consider additional information. I will just say though that will be on a case-by-case basis. It won't be a unique bidding process on every project in all cases. But really great question, and hopefully I answered it. If not, feel free to follow up with a clarifying one in the chat. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Marissa. Additional question, is measure cost coverage determined on a measure by measure basis or a project basis? In other words, if a common area measure has more incentive than cost, can the extra incentive carry over to under incentivized common area measures?
Another really great question. It is determined on a measure by measure basis.
Great. This question is regarding IOU service. Does the property need to have IOU service at the end of the project? For example, if a project had IOU gas, PG&E, or SCG, which was eliminated as part of the project, would they still be eligible?
Yes, they would still be eligible if we are performing electrification or a particular measure is switching its utility fuels. So yes, that is still eligible, but electrification in the sense of discontinuing the gas service to the property is not part of the project's scope. So that would be something that the owner would be continuing outside of the program. We are just able to fund the measures that switch from gas service to electric if that is part of the project scope.
Great, thank you. Another question. I already work with a contractor that I like. Do I have to use your contractors?
Great question. Yes, for the in-unit services, no for the common area upgrades. So common area upgrades, owners are allowed to select their own contractor. And for in-unit service delivery, because they are overseen by the utilities who administer this program and provide additional training and requirements for entities that are accessing resident units, those can only be provided by an in-unit contractor from the program.
Thank you, Marissa. Next question, do I have to install all the measures you recommend?
Another great questions today. No, that is part of the owner selection process. So we will present all the information about the eligible measures that are identified at the property to the owner after the assessment, and then the owner can decide which ones they want to move forward with.
Okay. Thank you. And just a reminder, you can either drop a question in the Q&A button at the bottom of your screen, or raise your hand to ask the question live. So next question, if I don't qualify now, does that mean I will never qualify for the program?
I think, Lydia, that's a great question for you.
Yeah, I can take that. No, that's not the case. Like as Marissa mentioned, the income guidelines we're expecting to change in April, May, and we're especially for properties that are very close, can re-examine. So no, we will stay in touch, and even if you don't qualify initially, does not mean you won't qualify later for certain requirements.
Great, thank you. So this is the last question that we have in the queue, but so feel free to drop a question in. What is the difference between property upgrades and common area upgrades?
No difference, one and the same.
Perfect. All right, those are all the questions that we have for the moment, but we do have plenty of time. Anything? Any burning questions? Okay, we had some questions come in. We've had some poor experiences with ESA contractors in the past. Can we choose which ESA contractor is used?
That's a really good question. We can absolutely talk to owners about their previous ESA experience. We are also able to look up in our systems what level of service was offered previously and when that service occurred. So we will talk to you about your experience. If there is a need to reassign a different in-unit contractor, we can talk about it at that time. But the assignment of contractors is based on the region where the contractor works and where the property is typically, and also the bandwidth of the contractors in our network. So if there is a particular concern about a contractor, we're absolutely able to talk to you about that and understand how the program can help support.
Great, thank you. The last next question is, do in-unit measures in mastered metered properties count as common area or in-unit as far as contractor/funding availability goes?
The funding pockets are different. So any upgrades that happen inside a resident unit are considered in-unit, and upgrades that are outside of the resident unit are considered common area.
We'll give it a few more seconds for additional questions to come in. All right. Another question, how easy is it to find contractors to do the work? Are we required to get 3 bids?
Great question. Bids are no longer required to define incentive levels. So there's no requirement for minimum number of bids when the program was administering that as part of our scope development process. So that's why the program is presenting incentive levels after the property assessment to help expedite the program funding information in the project development process. So that hopefully answers the question about bids and project costs. As far as selecting your contractor, again, owners are allowed to select any contractor that is a licensed contractor and also specifically licensed to perform the installation they're being hired for. But if you don't have a selected contractor or one that you like working with already, we can provide you with a list of contractors that have completed projects in the program. So at least we're providing you with a list of companies that have had experience working through this program before. It's not a list that you have to choose from, but that could at least help you identify and at least have contact information for a number of contractors for you to begin selection.
Great, thank you. Next question, do you do electrification?
Yes, really good question. So yes, currently we do have a series of electrification measures that we are able to fund through common area incentives. Those are heat pump water heaters, mini split heat pump pool heaters, and we are hoping to be adding in-unit electrification measures this year.
Next question. I manage a lot of properties. Do I have to fill out an application for each one?
Yeah, I can take that one. No, definitely not. So we do have the bulk submission form as an option where it just allows you to type in individual property information across multiple properties. If you already have like an active spreadsheet of properties you manage, you can send that to our team and we can work with you to gather any additional information. So you don't have to be typing in a lot of information that you already have in a spreadsheet.
Thank you for that, Lydia. Another question, how do I get started?
Yeah, so I'll take that one as well. So a couple ways, we'll have our contact information available in this PowerPoint that will go out. We'll also have links to both the interest form and for our contact email. So you can reach out to us at either of those contact emails based off of your utility provider. You can also submit an interest form as well. It's totally up to you, and we're here to help with whichever option.
Do you do solar?
Take that one. We do not do solar, but we using the SPOC program, if that's part of your goal for your property, we can connect you with the SPOC team who will be able to help you identify other opportunities for solar.
Great. Thank you. We'll give it, that is all the questions in our queue. We'll give it just a moment for any additional questions to come in. Once again, you can drop your question in the Q&A or raise your hand to ask your question live.
One I actually will add on just for solar as well. We're a great program for before solar, especially if you're looking for rooftop solar. Reducing your energy consumption on your property is a big first step for many solar programs and just a great first step for energy efficiency and combining renewable energy as well.
Yeah, that's a great point, Lydia. Thank you for bringing that up. Once again, my name is Leslie Martinez. Thank you so much for your time and have a great rest of your day.